Network. The whole point of my talk show is to show you that even with having a learning disability, I can still amount to something. And at the same time, I'm able to turn myself into an example for people out there dealing with any types of learning disabilities and disabilities to never give up and prove people wrong. Prove to them that labels do not dictate who you are and who you're going to be, so prove them and still amount to something.
Hi, I'm Lucretia Johnson, and I was just interviewed by Keith Andrews, and I think he is doing an amazing thing. Keep doing what you're doing, Keith.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the KeithAndrewNetwork. Today's episode is 987. That's right, 987. You heard from our guest in her recommendation. Here she is once again. Now, with that being said, it's PG-13. However, it is uncensored, so you have the right and freedom to say and express anything you want. So that being said, I'm going to ask you the top 15 questions. Usually, I do icebreakers, but it's something I've been focused on as of late. It's the top 15. So the first one I'm going to ask you, for our audience, what attracted you to begin your career as a professional actress?
I've been acting all my life, just entertaining my family and friends, growing up through life. It seems to just play into it. And then I started the art of storytelling. And so I enjoyed telling stories, or more so should I say, acting out stories. And that's how I basically began my little career as a kid doing so.
Well, actually, you gave me a great idea. You know, are you a writer?
I have written a couple of episodes of a series that I was blessed to be a part of, but no, I am not a writer, but I can see that happening in my future.
Well, if you're interested, people say once I get to 1,000 episodes, I should do something special. And like every time you go to Instagram, especially Instagram, you get these people that say, hey, you want to be featured on Fox News? I don't know why you want to be on Fox News. But they say, hey, you want to be featured on Fox News? You want to be on this channel? You want to be on that channel? Give me 15 seconds of your time. Give me 10 seconds. Why can't we have something honest? Say, give me 2 minutes of your time. What about 1 minute? And every time I'm like, yeah, they're going to give you the whole, BS. The song and dance. They're going to tell you what you want to hear, hook, line, and sinker. And at the very end, they're going to nail into the coffin and say, okay, so that's going to be $2,000. And it's kind of like, really, you told me everything on here. But the reason I bring that up is they all have the same damn thing in common. And that is, do you have a buck? Do you have, I don't know, do you guys talk to each other? You're like, you guys have an AA meeting or something? But they always say, do you have a buck? So you mentioned you were a storyteller. I would love to have you write my book. And I'm not a storyteller, to be honest with you. I'm by no stretch of imagination. But if you can turn my book into a story, I would love that.
Well, I'd be willing to try. And I'm sure with the connections that I have, we could probably do some great work with that.
No, absolutely. So the first question, I asked you the first question. Second question I want to ask you is, what has been your greatest achievements?
My greatest achievement in my life are my children. And they are a true joy to my heart. But on a professional level, I mentor youth through performing arts. And I get so much joy out of it. I'm there to help them, but in most cases, I find that they help me.
No, absolutely. It's all about leaving an impact and a legacy behind. And it's always good to leave an impression on someone.
Yes, most definitely. And our youth needs that. I worked through a program called Headline Mentors in Performing Arts. And about 2 years ago, that program, or that nonprofit, changed its name to Ladies in Film and Television, because those were the people who were actually doing the work with the kids. We were ladies in film, and we went to different community centers and outreach programs, and we made ourselves available to the youth that were at-risk youth. and impoverish you.
No, absolutely. Now, the next question I want to ask you is, what are you working on right now?
Right now, I just got cast in a new series. It's called Secrets and Yards, and we'll be beginning filming early next year. So I'm looking forward to it. And I'm also working on the first Texas Indie Filmmaker Awards. The organization, Ladies in Film and Television, is putting that on here in Texas in March. And we have a whole lot of talent here that we wanted to help recognize. And we put this event on, and we've had a great response throughout the state of Texas. So we're looking forward to that. And that is what I am working on.
No, absolutely. And I keep saying that in every single episode. Someone should pay me $1 for every time I say absolutely. I need to come up with another catchphrase, or make a shirt say absolutely.
Need to be able to.
That's true. Now, the second one I want to ask you is, what was your biggest failure, and what did you learn from it?
Well, my biggest failure. When I think about it, it was a career that I was looking for in real estate. And I'm not going to say it's a failure. I'm going to say it's incomplete. I keep incompleting it. And I do work in real estate, but I had been looking at getting my license, and I would start and I would stop. I would start and I would stop. I've done this process for 6 years, and so I just need to complete it. I know too much about this stuff not to do it, and so.
No, I agree. I want to ask you some hard-hitting questions, and you can throw it back at me. I have no cards up my sleeves. Obviously, I'm holding a card, so that doesn't make any sense, but I don't have any more cards up my sleeve. With everything that you accomplish as being a professional actor, so I want to ask you the do's and the don'ts. I want us to go on the journey from how you started and got to where you are right now. Was there any websites you would recommend, stage to backstage, let me ask you, how long ago did you start acting? Because I know in today's world, I feel old. In today's world, you have, Facebook and Backstage and something called nanny.com.
Mandy.
Yes. Thank you. I'm really bad at names, and I know people are going to butcher that one. But there's so many ones you have to pay for. But this is not about me. This is about you. Do these websites benefit you, or did you go a different route?
I do use them for castings. All of them are not good. A lot of them are scams. Just like with anything else in the world, you have to be careful and do your research on what you choose to invest in. You do need to invest in yourself as an actor. And a lot of times in the beginning, you're spending a lot of more money than you're making. But my best website for my acting is Actors Access. I pay an annual fee, and it's a pretty reasonable fee. And you can submit as much as you want freely after you pay the annual fee. And if this is something serious that you're serious about, that would be one of the first things that I would suggest that you do, is to build your profile on there. On Actors Access, Casting Network is also a good place for you to have your available for at the casting site. They work around the nation as well as the world, and so does Actors Access. And most agents that I deal with or have spoken with, that is one of the first things they're going to ask you. Do you have an Actors Access? Because that's where basically all of the castings go.
Now, what about the two websites that I mentioned, Backstage and Mandy?
Backstage has been around forever and ever. Backstage was around before there was internet. And so Backstage, and it was prominently in the New York area and in California. But it is a good, I am a member of Backstage. And so it is a good place. Now, Mandy, I have used Mandy, but it is not a website of choice for me.
No, absolutely. And now for me, I just use those two websites because for people who know how I get people to be on my show, like yourself, I use LinkedIn, I use Instagram, but mostly LinkedIn, Facebook. I just type in actors, and if it comes up as you're a professional actor, it's like good enough. And the people are like, well, do you do a background? And do you know this? Do you know that? I don't do that. I look for keywords. What do you do if you're an actor, writer, producer, professional wrestler? Anything that stands out to me, I talk about. I have interviewed people, but I found out later on that they were assholes, or they were arrested, and they were this, they were that, and they look at me like, why did you have this person on your show? Because at the time, it didn't come up. It's like, say for an example, Bill Cosby. He's a wonderful guy, but I don't go digging in finding stuff, and then once they're on the show, open that toolbox or whatever and start pulling things out. There's certain things that I look for if on a profile. What do you do? And if you're an actor, producer, wrestler, singer, teaser, anything I can put on an index card and I say, I'll give you an example of what I'm talking about. The next question I will ask you is, how do you handle stress and pressure? Now, for these are acting questions that I'm asking you. But if I interview a wrestler, if I interview someone with disabilities, I cross out acting and I put disability. So it's the same question, only I'm changing the subject.
Okay.
So I don't go digging or anything.
Well, how do I deal with stress? Oh my goodness, that's a question. I most of the time I try to meditate. I've learned to meditate, and meditating it helps you. It helps you deal with a lot in life. It helps you deal with stress. It helps you think. It just clears my head, and that was one of the best things that I learned to do. I still take I take classes on Saturday mornings. That's how I begin my Saturday mornings. I have this little kind of group that I go into, and we teach each other, how to deal with our low pressure points and things to that nature. But that has been what I have found that works best for me. And also reading does a lot for me. And it just takes my mind. What I find that helps me the most is when I take my mind to another place, and a place of peace. And so that I have learned to do in some of the oddest places. I can be in a room full of people, and I can kind of take myself there.
No, I agree. And no, I was just trying to make you laugh when I brought up Bill Cosby. I try to have fun with everyone. My show is about entertainment, and I'm like, it's not about serious. And a lot of people are. I'll give you an example. I came across a meet and greet, one of my favorite women wrestlers, Amy DeMont. And like, oh, I love you. You're one of my favorite wrestlers. I would love to have you on the show. And I got this through everyone else. It's the same question, but I really did not expect this reaction from her. She said to me, I thought your show was only about people with disabilities. I mean, yes, but by being on the show, you're supporting people with disabilities and supporting me. Oh, okay. Again, I wish I had $1 for every time I had that, or every time I try to interview a Gothic person, because I like Gothic girls.
How do you?
That's, when I was younger. I'm not saying I'm old or anything, but I like a woman with a nice skin tone, not someone who glows in the dark. But the reason I bring it up is the message that I sent you, where I introduce myself and tell you, I'm a talk show host with a disability, and blah, 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 blah. I'd like to have you on the show. And somehow it turns into, how did you know I have a disability? Who told you I have a disability? And I'm like, no, I didn't.
I didn't know.
Well, thank you for volunteering the information, I guess. But you can't fix stupid, but you can numb it with a 2x4, right?
Yeah. Hey Keith, you keep mentioning wrestling. You like wrestling a lot?
Yes, I am. I was actually born and raised.
Oh wow, okay. Well then, do you remember the Von Erichs?
I heard of them. I never met them. I do remember the name. I remember Eric Von Erich, was the Texas Tornado.
Mm-hmm. Well, their father, Fritz, I'm telling my age here a little bit. I'm from a wrestling family from way back when.
Oh, nice.
And with the Sportatorium days, if you remember the Sportatorium. And it's so funny, as a kid, I would watch wrestling with my grandparents in Nacogdoches, is where I'm from. And I lived in Dallas, and I never knew the Sportatorium was in Dallas. And but right now, in Louisiana, they are filming the movie called The Claw. And that is from the famous wrestling family of the Von Erichs. So it's going all the way back. So you be on the lookout for that. I can't wait to see it, and to see Fritz and his boys again in action. So it's going to be amazing.
Hey, if you can put a good word on it about me, I would love to have them on the show.
I will see what I can do.
No, absolutely. I know the wrestling belt gives it away. The reason for that is I went to meet and greets, and I want people to talk about my talk show. And I'm like, the joke is, my brother says, wrestlers get annoyed when they walk around with belts that you didn't deserve. Long story about that. I talk about that later. So I created the KeithAndrewNetWork. I'm like, okay, I like the design. Unfortunately, I don't have the actual belt. It fell apart. Well, I only have the centerpiece. Again, long story. Long story short, you see in the background, but it says DREW. You see that little glare? Well, I didn't know it had plastic on it. So I paid $225, and I'm like, okay. So I got it, and unfortunately, it peeled up. So I glued it, and unfortunately, it fell apart. So I took it apart. It's now in my closet. I am like, what can I do with this? I'm going to use it as a centerpiece for my talk show. And so I created a new belt. And the reason I walk around it was the KeithAndrewNetWork Championship. It's a conversation starter. I met, you mentioned, are you a fan of WCW?
Yes, I am.
I met Eric Bischoff. I met Tony Schiavone. I met Jim Duggan. I met Sergeant Slaughter. And a couple of those people looked at the belt and they're kind of like, okay. But Eric Bischoff and Kristen Cage and a couple other ones actually looked at it and say, that's a really nice belt. What can you tell me about it? And it's like, thank you. Someone wants to have a conversation. Other ones are like, oh, it's a stupid wrestling belt. When I was younger, and early on today, actually, not to take time away from you, I just want to tell you real fast, I also got the WWE Championship belts. When I was younger, I'm like, oh, that's so cool. Maybe one day I'd be champion. Now, looking back at it, I'm never going to be a wrestler. So it's kind of childish to have a WWE Championship. So that's why, and if you're interested, I will recommend them. Undisputed Championship belts. You can make any belt that you like. You can be the drinking champion, you can be the smoking champion, whatever you can think of, they will design it for you, and it's really nice.
Interesting. Okay.
But I do have a couple questions off here, but this is not about me, this is about you. So the next one I want to ask you, with everything that you accomplish, and this is a hard-hitting one, and I'm going to throw myself underneath the bus as well. How did you overcome discrimination? And when you overcame that, did that make you a stronger person?
It's sad to say that it still goes on, but I try to think of it as a person not really understanding
Yeah.
who they are. Really, that's and I look at it as what should I say, their problem and not mine to a big extent, because I'm here and I'm not going anywhere, and so they can accept it or not. And then when I started looking at it that way, it made it easier for me to accept it and walk away from it. Back in the day, I would have been a little militant, or it may make me angry, but it doesn't anymore. Because I understand now that it's an issue for the other person and not me. And so it's sad that we have to still deal with it, but it's the truth. And but that takes up some of the stress off of me. See, that came with my meditation.
Yeah, I didn't mean to end the pause. I like to ask hard-hitting questions, and to be fair, you can throw it back at me. You can ask me anything you want. And to be fair, when I tell people about my talk show, I read and learn at a 5th grade to high school level. I'm on the spectrum. I fall under the spectrum, of being retarded. And I'm like, oh, what do you do? I'm a talk show host. Well, you just said you fall under the spectrum of being retarded. Yes, but labels do not dictate who you are and who you're going to be. That's why, yes, I never went to college. I don't have a BA. I don't have a bachelor's. People say I have a bachelor's in BS because I have diarrhea of the mouth. But I'm showing you, I created this for almost 10 years. I pulled it right out of my ass. I know it hurt. But I showed you, look at what I was able to do on my own, thanks to you, 987 episodes. And sometimes do I wish I went to college? Yes. Sometimes do I wish I had a bachelor's? Yes. But sometimes, you have to prove to them that you can still amount to something. But with that being said, I'm going to pass it over to you. You can ask me anything you want. I want to get you fired up. You can talk. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I'm really proud of you for overcoming all of your disabilities and the confidence that you have in doing the talk show and in doing this show, and then just making yourself open for people. Because a lot of times, a lot of people, even without a disability, they don't have the confidence to do what you're doing. I know it takes a lot of confidence to be an actor, because there's a lot of rejection in it. I mean, 97% of it is rejection in most cases. So you have to have strong shoulders, and sometimes it can be a little scary. And so I know for you to do this and meet strangers and talk to them, I really don't think you meet a stranger, but to talk to them and ask them questions, I think it's pretty amazing. And what made you decide to want to do this?
I'll make a long story short. My brother before me we used to sit at the kitchen table. My brother before me used to say, I don't know what to do with my life. And my dad's like, go talk to your brother. He knows people. Go talk to your sister. And I said, what about me? Because I'm the youngest out of 4 brothers and 1 sister. And I said, what about me? What about you? You're not educated. You're not qualified. You never went to college. You piss people off. You don't shut up. You cause problems. And I said, how the hell is it? I will show you. But for all those things, I can create something on my own and turn it into something. Do I wish I went to college? Yes. But seeing what my sister and my brother paying off their college tuition, I'm happy I don't have to do that. But it's a gamble. You go to college, you get a degree, and especially in this job market, they might hire you, they might fire you, they might say work from home. And so there's so many things that could happen. Robin Williams says, where are you heading to next? Or he said, I'm probably butchering it, but you're on a journey, but you're so focused on what can go wrong, but you're not focusing on what can go right.
Mm-hmm. And that's on what can go right. I hear you. And well, I'm glad that you did, because I went through and looked at a lot of your interviews, and you do a great job, and people are very receptive of you, and so that's pretty cool.
That's absolutely.
And you might need to get into some acting, you know.
I thought about it. One of my favorite TV shows is Suits, and I always wanted a boss like Harvey Specter. I always wanted to be like Mike Ross, and I tried, going in, taking acting classes, and first day was free, obviously. That's how to get you hooked. And then it's like, oh, it's $600, and then the next season it's $1,200, so that's $26. But I can't guarantee you're gonna get any acted roles. But I can guarantee you're gonna piss away $2,600.
You have to watch those too, because they'll be a ripoff.
That's true.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. I do want to be an actor. My brother told me that when you're an actor, you're on. You can vouch from this. You're on stage for, I guess, 12, 16 hours. You're just standing around. Sometimes they will use you. Sometimes they won't, but you will be standing there. It's a long day. You can't get up and wave. Because if you get up and wave and they call you, you have to spend the entire day there. But I want to ask you, what were some of your experiences being on set? And would you recommend it?
Yes, would I recommend it?
Yes.
Yeah. It all depends on what your capacity is on set. When I see those long, there are some long days, believe me. A lot of times the background people, they're there just all day, like you said, and they may not be used, and then again, they may be used. And then when they're used, they maybe only be used a few moments. But once again, that's where that passion and the heart to do it comes in. And then if you're there as an actor or, a supporting or lead, you have your call times to come in. And then you're there with your people and your scene partners. And most of the time, your schedule isn't as long as background people in some cases. But they're just long days. And if it's something that you enjoy doing, it doesn't seem as long. I always have my script there. I always have something in my hands to do for my downtime. And that's what I would recommend for anyone to do that comes to set. Bring something that you can do on your downtime that will make the day shorter for you. But if it is a passion for you, you don't even think about it. At least I don't. And it's a lot of things going on set as well. So it's always something happening, watching a scene or, just conversating with other people when you're able to. So it's a lot going on. So you're just not completely bored, but you can be.
No, absolutely. Now, I do have a couple questions for you off the air, but I want you to be brutally honest. When I first approached you to be a guest on my talk show, what was your first reaction? What made you say yes, and would you recommend it?
Well, at first I was wondering why you wanted to interview me. It's like, why would you want to interview me? Who am I? And then when I went and looked at your other interviews, I was like, okay, it's interesting. And then I kind of liked you because I like your personality and everything. And you seem very fair and you ask good questions. And so I was like, why not? I'm doing this, so why the heck not? Yeah, so, and like people tell you, when people ask you, why not you? So.
That's true. Now, how can people follow you on social media? Are you on Facebook, LinkedIn?
I am on Facebook. I am on LinkedIn, and actually just by my name, Lucretia Johnson. And you can find me there. On Instagram, I am Lucrejon _for real. And at IG, on Twitter and TikTok, I'm just Lucrejon. That's kind of my brand name, Lucrejon, kind of combining my first and my last name together.
No, absolutely. Stay tuned. I do have a couple questions for you off the air. But wrapping up, this will be played on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and LinkedIn. So for everyone, if you're watching, especially if you're watching, you definitely have to leave a comment, because there's no point of watch and then you leave. If you watch something, you might as well leave some feedback.
Yes, most definitely.
But I do have a couple questions for you off the air. But it was a real honor and privilege for us to do part 2. Our new goal is for every single episode to reach 100 views. Once we get 100 views, we can definitely do a part 2. I am working on a couple of events. You are more than welcome to be a part of it. But until we meet again, catch you later. Thank you and happy holidays.